Marking the motor mount position. Using our motor, we're going to locate the position on the aircraft where the motor mount needs to be installed. If we need any angle offset on the motor mount, we need to adjust for angle. The following short video will demonstrate how I mark the location of the motor mount. Okay, we are back on the fuselage, and what I'm going to do is I am going to pre-mark the location of my motor mount plate within the fuselage. So I'm going to get my motor positioned here, got my marker, and what I'm going to do is see where this motor and prop need to be established in this prop slot, and I'm not putting it in the center of the prop slot. I'm going to be going probably about a third of the way across the prop slot because I want to have room to remove my prop nut and change out my props, and also I want to try and keep the center of weight as close to the center of the plane as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line up my motor here and this is where this grid, if you've got a cutting mat with a grid, it comes in really handy for lining this up and looking at these little grid squares to find out, you know, where a third mark is. Now you can put yours in the center. Just make sure that wherever you locate it in the prop slot, that you have enough room to remove your prop nut and your prop, because this motor is going to be sitting right in the center mass of this wing plate, so vertically and horizontally. So I'm going to put it about a third of the way across, and then I'm just going to make a little tick mark where I need to have my motor mount plate. That's the furthest extent. That is the farthest extent of the face of my motor plate. You know, looking from the back of the plane forward. So I'm just going to use this square to locate that position of the motor mount, and you can see it's pretty darn close to the end here. And then I'm just going to use my marker to mark on where this is going to need to be, this wing plate. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, because you want your plate, your mount plate for your motor, to be level, side to side, up and down. So I am just getting that established. Okay, so now I've got my motor mount plate pre-marked, and one thing you need to be aware of is when you're making your markings for your motor mount plate is that this is going to fold up on the side, so you're going to have 5 millimeters of surface here that's going to be gone from the bottom, and then you also need to allow for 5 millimeters on the top where your fuselage cover is going to go, because your fuselage cover is going to fit inside this cavity here, like so. So that's 5 millimeters on the top. So you fold this up and you measure from the bottom plate right here, and you need to go up and leave enough room for that plate to close flush with the top of the fuselage. So when you cut your motor mount out of plywood or whatever material you're going to use, make sure that you allow for 5 millimeters on the top of that when you're making that motor mount. And as you can see, that motor is going to fit in there nicely with enough clearance on the top and on the bottom so that the bell housing is not going to be touching any of the foam. Now that you've marked the location of your motor mount, it's on to the next step.